Mr. James Bean of Maine, USA, launched Spiritual Awakening Radio in September 1988 out of his pure love of the great masters and their teachings. The focus of Mr. Bean's programs is to share, through radio and other media, a deeper understanding of spirituality for a more peaceful planet. He is also a mystic explorer of the inner heavenly light and sound of God, and a devotee of the spiritual path from India known as Sant Mat. It is a great privilege that Mr. James Bean has accepted our invitation for an interview. In today's episode, our discussion with him will touch upon the subject of veganism, one of the most pressing priorities of the world at this time.
Veganism is an absolute must, and on so many levels, of course, as so many people have already eloquently described. There was a cartoon that came out a few years ago, and the premise of the cartoon is, what if climate change was all a hoax? We made the world into a better place, and all for nothing. But the whole point was that when we're doing the right thing for one reason, we're doing the right thing for many, many reasons. And so when it comes to the vegan diet, it's good for the health of the body. It's actually living up to the spiritual ideals of the spiritual masters. All the great advanced masters of the ages have been vegetarian or vegan. And in order to meditate, to get further in one's meditation practice, spiritual practice, of course, climate change, we already know. I was reading an absolutely terrifying article, a blog actually, by someone that's been on Supreme Master television before, about how necessary veganism is as a component to mitigating climate change. We can't prevent the tipping points unless veganism is on the table, and I'm glad to see that veganism is becoming popular now, is getting adopted. It's definitely a requirement in order to mitigate climate change.
In an effort to inform people that veganism has always been a requirement for spiritual truth seekers, Mr. James Bean compiled a booklet that highlights lesser-known writings in Christian scriptures regarding dietary choices.
It's very long, divided into sections. Anyone can access it by going to a site called archive.org and just typing in evidence for vegetarian Jesus in the search box there, and you'll see 2 copies of this booklet I've uploaded as an ebook that you can download for free, from archive.org. And you'll also see a couple of podcasts that I did on the same subject, and I noticed that turns up in the same search there at archive.org. And so when I came up with this booklet of vegetarian Christianity, making Christianity vegan, that's based on years of research, finding all of these amazing vegetarian passages, and actually vegan because there's no reference to dairy products either. It's all plant-based references, and they can read up on the evidence for vegetarianism of Jesus, the apostles, John the Baptist as well, and later generations of Christians and Christian movements, Gnostic Gospels, of course the Essene teachings of Judaism. I've tried to put all of that together. It's got all kinds of different sections to it. Biblical vegetarianism, the vegetarianism of the Gnostics, vegetarianism of the Ebionites, which is just a fancy name for the Hebrew Christians or the original Jesus movement of Israel.
We will pause now for a constructive message and return soon. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back, gracious viewers. You may wonder what evidence pertaining to vegetarianism in religion is provided in Mr. James Bean's new booklet. Let's hear Mr. Bean reveal some of the details.
I've always collected these writings, for many, many years. I started off in Christianity. I have a Christian background and then went further to the East, got very interested in the teachings of masters and mystics. But I first started out, in Christianity and some of the Western mystics, some of those medieval mystics of Europe, and, they were quite deep as well. And so over time, I came upon these references to vegetarianism, in these writings. And so at some point, I just decided to compile in different categories, and document all of this. It's amazing. I don't remember what I had for lunch last Tuesday, but here we have passages that describe, the Apostle Matthew ate seeds and nuts, and you just have all of these references. John the Baptist ate carob beans, or flour ground from carob beans, made into cakes and all of this. There are all these amazing references. And it's just so surprising that most people don't realize that there is an extensive collection of vegetarian references. People have this sort of Sunday school notion about Jesus and loaves and fishes, and, and young disciples eating fish. But then the life of these disciples all kind of disappears into the fog. And as they go from new followers to mature teachers in early Christianity, all, what they had to say is all missing, is obscure. And most of these apostles, so-called 12 apostles, there are references to them being vegetarian. So there's no loaves with fishes or anything like that. They're advocating vegetarianism. And so I just felt like compiling all of these passages in different categories regarding the biblical tradition. And I'm doing this, sharing this, and plan on creating a series of podcasts based on this. I just have this sort of this sense that this will help those with Christian backgrounds or orientations to go vegan, because they will see this in their own tradition. It's there. It's been there for the last 2,000 years. But they've just had no support from their religion. And some of this material isn't easy to come by. But it's there. And that's the exciting thing, that it's that there's all of these passages, with quotes from different apostles. And, of course, the book of Genesis advocated a vegan diet, the original Garden of Eden. That's a vegan diet advocated there. And there have been mystical movements throughout history, within Judaism and Christianity that have advocated veganism or vegetarianism, in different forms over the years.
According to Mr. James Bean, if people of all religious beliefs and from different traditions know the truths inscribed in the original teachings of the masters they believe in, they would surely turn to the vegan lifestyle.
And so that history does exist, but most people don't know about it. And a lot of people in Christianity really don't associate their religion with vegetarianism. They just don't know that these things exist. And I just think that by sharing this knowledge, that it could be important to help millions of Christians adopt a vegan diet. And that seems like an important thing. There are a lot of Christians in the world. And so if we can sway some of them to go in a vegan direction, that could really help out. And this evidence exists, and, people may find some of the writings that I quote, in seminary libraries. These are all, scholarly kind of references that check out. And so it just feels important to share this knowledge with the world to encourage people to go vegan. And other people are working to do this, in the Sikh religion, in Buddhism, even in Islam, too. In finding a basis within their own faith communities to make the case for veganism to their populations, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus have been vegetarian, but a lot of vegetarians are transitioning to vegan now. As I say in one of my blogs, vegetarianism is going vegan. And so there's a huge series of movements in the world right now. A lot of people are transitioning to vegan. So I just hope to contribute to that movement of humanity to veganism by sharing sayings of Jesus, sayings from the Apostle Peter, the Apostle Thomas, and all of these other texts that I've put together in one place, pointing out that vegetarianism is very old. It goes right back to the earliest days of Christianity. The Apostle Paul, in his letters, which date back to about 50 AD or so, he's arguing with vegetarian Christians back then, in 50 AD. So this goes right back to the early days of the Jesus movement. So it's kind of neat to know that and to share that with other people. And if it helps some go vegan, then, well, there are a lot of Christians out there. It's a huge population.
Supreme Master Ching Hai has contributed several times to further the good cause of Mr. James Bean and Spiritual Awakening Radio. In 2009, she offered $5,000 along with some of her books, DVDs, and CDs. In 2018, she also provided the English book series, The Key of Immediate Enlightenment, Volumes 1 to 5, along with other DVDs. Most recently, in 2019, Supreme Master Ching Hai gave $20,000 to Mr. James Bean and Spiritual Awakening Radio to lovingly support his veg promotion.
Supreme Master Ching Hai is deeply grateful to the beloved God for all the financial help, comfort, and support to the afflicted and needy, and/or any good cause over the years, as a humble vessel for His compassion and love toward His precious children.
For more information on the booklet, Evidence that Jesus and the original Aramaic Christians were vegetarians, Uncovering a Vegetarian Jesus at the Beginning of Christianity by James Bean, please visit suprememastertv.com/James Bean-evidence-Jesus-was-vegetarian.pdf or email james@spiritualawakeningradio.com. For more information and quotes from masters, please log on to spiritualawakeningradio.com. Heroic viewers, it's a pleasure to have you with us today on Words of Wisdom.